Hi, long range hunting. Welcome to episode 16 of our terminal ballistic testing, hunting versus match bullets. Now today we are back. We have several videos coming. I'm editing them right now. This is the current one I'm working on. And today we're covering one of the most requested bullets out there. And that is the Remington lokts. Now this particular one is in 300 Winchester Magnum with a 180 grain bullet. Now I want to put a disclaimer here because I know this stupidity is going to come out in the comments. There's a huge fan base for these bullets. I don't understand it. They're terrible. But their logic on it being good, and everybody says, oh, I've killed tons of animals with this. Oh, my dad's killed more animals than anybody on the planet with lokt. They're amazing. That is probably one of the stupidest arguments. And hear me out, because it is. Every projectile kills. Any projectile launched at a high enough velocity through an organ is going to cause damage and can lead to fatality. So it's not a matter of these videos of whether or not it can kill. That's not the topic. Any projectile will kill. Hell, you launch my fat ass fast enough through a deer, it's going to kill it. Plain and simple. These videos are showing the differences in performance, how well it kills. The difference is, you shoot that deer with a lokt, it runs 400 yards, 440, a quarter mile, and then dies, and it might take several hours, or it just makes that and ends up lasting a matter of minutes. Did the animal ultimately succumb to those wounds? Yes. Was that ideal performance? No. If I take a bullet, a good one, and it goes in and it vaporizes that chest cavity and that animal drops dead on the spot or only goes a few yards, well, guess what? That is better performance. That is what you want, that optimal performance. You want to cause sufficient trauma in order to kill that animal quickly. That goes to ethics. People confuse ethics all the time with stuff they don't like or can't do. Ethics has nothing to do with your likes or dislikes. Ethics is very simple. Ethics is taking a shot inside your capabilities with the intent of a quick, clean kill. Now, quick and clean are the words I want you to focus on. If an animal, you use a bullet that is not good and it goes into an animal and that animal ends up being alive for 30, 40 minutes, a couple hours, is that optimal, quick, clean kills? No, it is not. However, if you use a bullet that an animal dies instantly or within a matter of seconds, that is an ethical kill. So I hear guys all the time trying to, save meat or this or that, and they use bullets on purpose that don't give them good terminal ballistics. To me, I find that unethical because you are knowingly using something that is going to lengthen the amount of time that that animal is suffering. I want to put that animal down as fast as possible. Guys try to say, oh, well, you just don't want to track. No, I track plenty during archery season. With a rifle, I want that animal to go down as quick as possible. Even archery, I use specific broadheads, arrows, everything, my entire setup to make sure that that animal dies as quickly as possible, even with arrows. So the argument that just because it kills, it's good is completely invalid. It's a BS argument that people use because they don't have anything else to use. Now, lokts, being cheap, run with a lot of issues. When I used to hunt with these, and yes, I did hunt with them at one point, until I found out how terrible they were by using great bullets. There is a lot of inconsistencies. It's a heavy, thick, jacketed bullet, and it's bonded. Now, a problem with jacket thicknesses that you can get, especially on something this cheap with low quality control, is when they pour those jackets, there can be inconsistencies. There can be heavy spots, there can be light spots, and over range as far as external ballistics, this can lead to loss of gyroscopic stability. A few years ago, I had a guy that hunted with him. He was trying to tell me long range is unethical, said he shot a deer at 450, and he saw it hit and it just ran off. He never recovered it. Well, we started diving into that, and based on the distance and everything, I told him he lost gyroscopic stability. That bullet impacted sideways, which is why he saw such a massive shockwave on that animal. He didn't believe me. He had 200 rounds left. So we got big, thin sheets of metal, set them out at 400 and 500 yards, and ultimately ended up shooting all 200 rounds. All 200 rounds at that distance impacted sideways. They had lost all gyroscopic stability, and basically that deer got a punch in the ribs. Unfortunately, that turned him and told people that long range was unethical. I hit it, it didn't do anything. Is long range unethical? No. He took a shot with a bullet that he shouldn't have been doing it with. Now, that jacket issues is going to also lead to issues in terminal performance. The terminal performance side of this is no matter what, whether it's consistency of flight, it's your fundamentals of marksmanship, or the gun itself, consistency is accuracy, doing everything the same way every single time. Now, with bullets like this that are cheap, the jackets aren't as uniform as they should be, and you can have heavy and light spots, that's going to lead to inconsistencies in expansion and terminal performance. So you're not going to get the repeatability you will with other types of bullets. You also have a higher minimum impact velocity, limiting your range, and the simple shape of them is going to lead to issues of accuracy and aerodynamics. Now for this test, I used the 300. These bullets are cranking out of there, and I did a 100-yard shot with an impact velocity of 2,900 feet per second. I want to get close. I want to get it for what most people are going to be shooting as distance with this, and as high as velocity as possible to get as much performance as possible. Now we're going to dive in real quick to the temporary wound cavity, and then I'll show you the permanent wound cavity. There's a couple things I want you to focus on though with watching the performance of these bullets. Watch the hide, watch the meat, and watch the gel, but also importantly, watch the bucket. See how everything reacts, the amount of force of the hide flying off, the meat, etc. Pay attention to that, and also watch the edges and the bottom of the gel. Now, as you see, the hide and meat flew a little bit back and just dropped. If you look at that temporary wound cavity, you can see the sides and the bottom aren't deformed with that expansion. Nothing happened to the bucket. There was not sufficient hydraulic shock in order to cause that expansion. Now, right here, with my thumb as a reference, is the permanent wound cavity. Now that is absolutely poor performance. That is a very small wound cavity for what was being shot into it. It's small. The bullet zips through. Now the lower the velocity you go, and I will continue to do these tests shooting at lower velocities to show this, but the lower you go, the worse that performance is going to get, and we're clear up there near the 3,000 feet per second mark. So if you're using a 308, you're not going to be that high. When you take your 100-yard shot, you're going to be somewhere between 2,550 and 2,600 feet per second. To look at performance-wise, we're looking at a very high velocity shot at a distance most people are going to shoot, and it blew through. There wasn't a whole lot of transition. It didn't break the bucket. Even the bottom of the gel, there was not any deformation, and the permanent wound cavity isn't anything to brag about. Now, to show you what I'm talking about with these things I told you to focus on, we are going to do some flashbacks of a compilation of videos, and it's going to show from episodes 1, 2, 3, 5, 9, 13, and 15 with a variety of different bullets and multiple cartridges. You've got Burger hybrids, ELD match, Abram bullets, A-tips, and this is going to show you the trauma that those can cause. And a lot of these, there are a couple, there's one ELD match that's at the exact same velocity. That's with the 300 Win Mag. And then there's one with the 6 Creedmoor at the same type of velocity. And again, both of those beat it. And think about that. A 6 Creedmoor outperformed this with that bullet. And we're going to dive more into that. But as you watch these, I want you to focus on the same things. Look at how the meat and hide flies away, the gel block itself. Watch what it's also sitting on. You can see that these, when they transition down, will actually break the bucket. They'll break the table. You can see the flex. It sends stuff flying. One of them has, rocks underneath it, and it just obliterates it. Watch the edges of that temporary wound cavity of the gel. You're not going to have that fine, refined like you did with the core lock. That's the type of performance we see when bullets aren't expanding a lot on the lower velocities. With ELD match, that's 1,1500 feet per second type performance. So let's watch these real quick. Focus on all those things and just watch the difference. Now that's impressive. You can see they're opening up rapidly. There's that massive expansion. Good, nice, permanent wound cavities going through there. The meat and hide are flying, literally flying, like there's been an explosion there, and it's flying away from the ballistic gelatin. The tables are damaged. They're flexing. The buckets are breaking. I mean, that's just a drastic increase. And again, this is multiple cartridges. It's not just one, and it's multiple weights. Even the 6 Creedmoor broke the bucket, which this is a 300 Magnum, which brings me to my next point, not only to show the difference in performance of bullets, but it's something people don't realize. People think the cartridge is what dictates performance, and that's absolute crap. The bullet is. All the cartridge itself does is give you a certain amount of velocity. A smaller cartridge with a better bullet will outperform a Magnum with a crappy bullet, and I'm going to show you right now. Now this next one is the episode 1. It's an impact velocity of 2,300 feet per second with a 308 with a 168 grain bullet. So we're running 308 versus a Magnum, both 30 caliber bullets. This one, again, 2,900 feet per second. So we're talking a difference of 600 feet per second impact velocity and a heavier bullet on the 300. Now watch as all this goes through. A couple things on the 308 to focus on. Not only to watch the temporary wound cavity and how the hide and meat reacts, but even watch the table. It literally hits with so much force that it picked up the table and scooted it back. So I'm gonna let you watch and we'll get back to talking. Now you can see that is a huge difference in performance. The 300 just kind of bounced off. It rocked the bucket a little bit. Nothing spectacular. There's not a great wound cavity. The permanent wound cavity on that 308 was 2 inches solid across the board. So not only with the 308 was 600 feet per second impact velocity lower, did it achieve a better temporary or a better permanent wound cavity, but it also achieved a much better temporary wound cavity. You could see, I mean, there was no edges to that. It was just a massive ball expanding out. There was no clean edges of the gel not being touched. That entire thing expanded, and that bullet hit with enough force that it was like a grenade going off and sending everything in every direction, which is going to ultimately result in better performance. So a small cartridge, I hear guys, oh, you need a Magnum, you need a Magnum. No, you really don't. That 308 just outperformed a 300 Win Mag in every spectrum, and it was a lower impact velocity. I mean, even the 6 Creed created a wonderful permanent wound cavity and broke the bucket, dumping more energy into that target. So it's one of those things that I do not recommend core locks. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because there's those guys that just think they're the greatest thing in the world. But in reality, both in the field, because again, I've hunted with these. I used them for years. Field, everything, and even these gel tests to show, which is mirroring exactly what we saw in the field. There are much better bullets out there, and the difference is drastic. So why set yourself up for failure with a crappy bullet? I hope this has helped. Now we are going to be visiting some other projectiles. We've got Lapuas out of the 308, the 167s. I did a tip and 6mm by request on a high shoulder shot with actual shoulder. And we're gonna keep plugging through. There's a lot more videos to come, so stay tuned. Happy hunting.
It's not that hard, people.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notification bell so you won't miss out on any future video. And happy hunting.